Hey, Brittany.
Hi, Rachel.
So today, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm wearing a wig. It's got like a little extra thick hair. I'm wearing it for myself in honor of my favorite tax protester. Do you know who that is?
Well, I feel like I'm cheating because you told me already.
Okay,
who
well,
is it?
There you go. We'll just play along. So, I'll give you a little quiz. See if you can guess. There's actually chocolate named after her. She's famous for long hair and also a horse ride. So, have you guessed?
Also a Beatles song? Am I wrong?
No, you're thinking Lady Madonna.
Oh, I think there's a Lady Godiva song.
Is there really?
Homework. I think so. Oh, I just said it.
She gave it away. It's Lady Godiva.
You will be honest, I did not even know it was a real person or anything until I did nothing.
Yeah, so I'm going to go over the myth and the fact about Lady Godiva. She was a real person. We know that much for sure. She lived in the 11th century, which was about 1056, 1060, something like that. And she was a wealthy woman. She was married to the Earl of, let's see, I had this in my notes. This was Coventry in England. She was married to the Earl of Mercia. Earl
is like a title. I don't know what it means, but it's like a noble title.
He was like the mayor. Think of him as like the mayor of Coventry, which is like an area in England. He was named Leofric. And so Lady Godiva was sweet and nice and wonderful. And she was a patron of the arts. She contributed to the church and took care of the poor. She's a very, very good lady. Like everybody agrees about that. She's very beautiful, had this long hair that she was very proud of. And in Coventry, her husband, the Earl, was imposing just ruinous taxes, and it was causing all of her artist friends, her church friends. It was
her husband.
Her husband, yeah. She was protesting her husband. He was the one imposing the taxes, and she would ask him all the time, please, could you take it easy? Could you lower the taxes? People are suffering, and he was like, no, won't do it. And then finally, this is the legend part. Finally, one day, he says in exasperation, I will lower the taxes when you ride naked through the streets of Coventry. And she is like, oh. Now, he was kidding, but she took this opportunity to protest taxes. And the people knew that she was going to do this. And out of respect, the people all shuttered their doors and they turned away. So what she did is she stripped down totally naked, and she used her hair, which was long enough to cover her modesty. So that's why in paintings, you don't see any private parts. She's all covered with hair, but she's clearly not wearing any clothes, and she's riding a horse.
This is the legend, or this happened?
This is the legend. This is the legend. We know that she was a real person. We know the dates that she lived. We know who she was married to. But that's all we know for certain. The rest is legend that came along later about her. Continuing on, she rode through the streets of Coventry. Everybody turned away. Nobody looked except for one gentleman named Tom. And this is where the term peeping Tom comes from. You ever heard?
That is such an interesting little piece of history.
Yes.
You told us too late. You did the jump the shark a couple episodes ago in this one. That's fascinating.
A peeping Tom that comes from Lady Godiva. He peeked through the shutters to see her riding by, and legend has it that because of that, he was struck blind. Like he was punished. Like karma punished him by striking him blind. So that's just a little story about Lady Godiva. And he, I think he reduced the taxes and gave her away. It was like, okay.
Happy life, as they say.
That's right. But yeah, so she's my favorite tax protester. Not because I think anyone should ride through the streets naked. Please don't do that. This is not in advocacy of public nudity, but what I take away from this story is like she was a very devout, modest person. What she did really took her out of her comfort zone. She stood up for what she believed, and she stood up for reducing the burden of government on her community. Even though it was her own husband, you would think she wouldn't have to go to these lengths to influence her own husband. But that just goes to show you also, women in those days didn't have much power. So she took what little power and influence she could muster up, and she fought for freedom. So I just think it's a fascinating story. And what it says to me is sometimes to stand up for what's right, you have to step outside your comfort zone. And maybe to you, maybe what that looks like is maybe there's a rule at school that you think is unfair, or just something that you think is wrong. Don't strip naked and go run around the halls of school. Don't do that.
Emphasize that enough.
Do not do that. But maybe what that looks like for you is writing a well-written letter and explaining your point, or maybe standing up in class and, raising your hand and calmly and in a respectful way, express your opinion and why something you see is wrong. So maybe that's what that looks like for you. Are there some other ways that sometimes fighting for liberty, standing up for what's right, might be out of your comfort zone? Can you think of any, Brittany?
Yes. Henry David Thoreau is one of my favorite tax protesters. And there's actually a book called The Night Thoreau Spent in Jail. So his sacrifice of not paying taxes, and it was a war. I'll be honest, I'm not good at the wars that aren't the wars I'm interested in. Part of me wants to say it was the Spanish War, but I'll be honest, I don't remember what year the Spanish War was. It was one of those things in history class I wasn't paying attention to. But there was a war, and Thoreau was protesting that his taxes that were being used to fund a war he did not support. And he spent a night in jail. So there's things like that where you have to kind of wonder, okay, are my principles, and hopefully it won't be this extreme, but that's one of the more extreme ones, are my principles worth this? I mean, we have stories throughout history of martyrs, of people who were willing to die for what they believed in. I'm not saying you have to do that, but there are the very extreme versions too. But for a lot of protesters and tax protesters, sometimes that has meant spending a night in jail. I will be honest, I don't know if I could do it. In my heart, I could. I don't know if I could do it. Could you do it, Rachel?
I don't think I would want to be sent to prison like on purpose. Like sometimes people want to be arrested and they think that it will be very impactful towards their protest. I'm not one of those people. I think there's probably better ways. I just choose other ways other than civil disobedience to that extent.
What about Thoreau wrote a lot about civil disobedience, by the way. And I'm sorry if you can hear that airplane. I live by, because I'm in DC. And
is that
so
Reagan?
There's always, no, it's a military. Military does, I live right by a military base. There's always a military base somewhere near you in DC. So I apologize for that. Protests are interesting. I don't know what I would be willing to do and not do for it. When it comes to civil disobedience, you have to possibly pay a fine, would be something that would be realistic. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of protesters. It's now become illegal to hand out food to the homeless in public parks. Depends on where you live. And so there was a really adorable, he's since passed, but 80 or 90-year-old man that would go out. I don't remember what state it was in, but he would go out every weekend and he would hand food he made to the homeless, and he would get arrested every weekend. And it was to the point where I don't think the police even wanted to arrest him, but they were beholden to whoever their boss was, right?
Yeah, they're just following orders.
They're just following orders. But he did it because he knew that what he was doing was worth the punishment. And now if we're protesting taxes, the unfortunate thing is you're probably still going to end up paying them unless you want to stay in prison forever. Which I don't. Now, with him, he was seeing a direct benefit, right? He was literally helping someone have a meal, and that was worth spending a couple hours in jail. And I think they always let him go after a few hours, but it's still a pain to be taken and thrown behind bars. I think they're are certain times when that is warranted. I don't know that I would do it, but I very much admire those who do.
I really like Rosa Parks. All she did was sit on the bus. She just sat on the seat that she wanted to on the bus, and when they told her to move to the back, she just stayed there. So I like that kind of civil disobedience. Did she go to jail? Did they put her in jail?
I feel like she did. Yeah.
I might be willing to go to jail for something as stupid as that.
Yeah.
You know, as stupid and unjustifiable as segregation. That was a bad period of time.
The Jim Crow laws is what they called them.
Yeah.
The separate but equal, but there was nothing equal about them. Yeah, that's just awful. That's true. There were so many just morally abhorrent things back then. Segregation, treating another human different than you because of something like their skin color is one of those things I think would almost, be warranted. I don't know. I don't think I'd do well in jail. I'd get a fine. I'd pay a reasonable fine. I wish I could. I wish I was braver. I would pay a fine. I would if I was a student, maybe I'd it would be worth a couple recesses that I couldn't go outside, maybe something like that.
Maybe
it'd be worth a detention or something for the right cause. I just think of the things I got put in detention for. I went to detention once, and it was because I was chewing gum in class, because these are the important things that have to be regulated in junior high.
Wow, that is quite a zero tolerance policy.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. So I admire those who do. Final answer: I admire those who are willing to do that. My threshold's probably pretty low, but I do I do admire it.
Yeah, but I mean, I would just say again that protests should not include harming other people. It should always be peaceful. If you're going to go to jail, don't go to jail for valid reasons like destroying property or spray painting anything.
Do it for having hung flowing hair, but not...
do it for the right reasons.
We'll wrap it up there.
Don't go to jail, though.
Discussion. Just don't go to jail. Try not to go to jail.
Try not to go to jail.
That is the moral of this story. We'll wrap it up there.
But do stand up for what's right. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. Share with your friends. And until next time, we will talk to you later.